Why do we as Muslims have mental health issues or face struggles in our life? Why does God test the people that he loves? This question is basically answered in Surah Ankabut, in Ayah 2 of Surah Ankabut, where God says, do people think they will be left to say we believe and they will not be tried, right? So part of being a Muslim is being tested with difficulties and struggles, basically, right? It's just an aspect that comes with taking the Shahada, right? When you take the Shahada, it's not the end. It's not like they like, okay, that's it. Your life is going to be perfect, happily ever after. That doesn't exist, right, for a Muslim. Because as a Muslim, God is telling us in the Quran, as a Muslim, I'm going to test you. Because you are a Muslim, I'm going to test you. When I saw this and when I learned it, I was like, wow, this is actually really interesting, because in the Muslim community, especially in I find it in Desi culture, because I'm Desi, right? The way that mental health, depression, anxiety, these things are talked about, it's almost as if people think that you have these things and you face these kinds of issues because you're lacking iman. They think that if you're facing this, you don't have enough faith, right? You don't have enough faith in God and stuff like that, which is not true, because basically God is saying that I'm giving you these struggles, these problems, these issues because of the fact that you're believing. So it goes against what all these people say, all the aunties and uncles are trying to tell us, oh, you have these problems because you need to pray more, which is not true, right? I mean, prayer would help, but that's not the solution. You wouldn't tell someone with a cold, hey, just pray, everything's gonna be okay. No, you're not gonna do that. You're not that's the same thing with depression. It's a mental illness. It's an illness of the brain. So you can't just do that. The Prophet ﷺ, he was the greatest believer, right? And he faced the most struggles of anyone else. The person who faces the more trials and hardships is more loved by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if you're kind of living life and everything's great and you have no issues, you kind of should be worried. That should kind of make something click in your brain, what's going on? Because the thing is, and I remember I heard in somebody else's talk or whatever, they were saying how the people who are not beloved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he gives them their happiness in this world. But that's 50, 60, 70 years, if we're lucky, compared to an eternity of unhappiness. Yeah, that's really scary. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala only gives you struggles that we can handle. Anything that you're struggling with right now, it's because you have the capacity to be able to handle it. God's not going to give you anything that you cannot handle. In Surah Doha, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is literally swearing. He says, Wadduha, right? So Wadduha means by the morning brightness in Arabic. When God is saying by, for example, right? He's swearing, he's taking an oath, he's promising us. So this is a promise made to us in the Quran by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. By the morning brightness, and then وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا سَجَى, and by the night when it covers with darkness. مَا وَدَّعَكَ رَبُّكَ وَمَا قَلَى, your Lord has not taken leave of you, nor has he detested you. And in some some sheikhs say that when it says not taken leave of you, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has not deserted you, nor has he forgotten you. Even though when you're facing struggles, it might feel where is God, right? Especially with what's going on around the world today, those people might be thinking, where is God? What's going on? Has God forgotten about us? But that's not true, because God is literally, again, addressing. It's actually kind of funny that those things that you think about that come to your mind are literally addressed in the Quran. You just have to read it. He literally says, I'm swearing by the morning brightness, the sun, right, the dawn, and the night that covers it. So night is the peace, that I'm with you always. Even when you think I've forgotten you, I have not forgotten you.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, regardless of whether he says something or not, he's there, and we can't forget that.
The sheikh today in the khutbah was I was talking to this brother, and he was I have such a big struggle, such a big problem right now. And he was what's your problem? And this guy is really well off, right? He has a bunch of houses, a bunch of cars, he's really rich. And then he goes, every year I take my family to vacation in Europe, but this year I'm a little tight on money, so I can't take them this year, and I'm finding it really hard to tell them. And that was his life's main problem, telling his kids, I can't take you to Europe this year. And that's you think about it and you're what? But to him, that's that's his struggle. We all have degrees of struggles, but there's nobody on this planet, probably in all of history, who's had the struggles that the Prophet ﷺ has had to face. The Prophet ﷺ buried six of his 7 children with his own hands. 6. He saw his grandchildren die before him. He was bullied and harassed for years and years and years after, the message of Islam came to him. He didn't have family, his mother passed when he was very young. His father passed before he was born. His grandfather passed when he was very young as well. And Khadija radiallahu anhu, who was his main support in the forming years of Islam, she also passed away.
His wife passed away, and he lost protection in Mecca
And there's like anybody has known like the story of Taif, when Prophet Muhammad is talking to his companion about like Taif, he says that was one of the saddest days of my life. Like if he had to count with say the number one saddest day of his life, Taif would be the saddest day of his life, because the journey to Taif wasn't an easy like journey for him. He had to sneak out of Mecca without a camel or food, because then like the Quraysh would know that he was leaving Mecca. So he had to walk to Taif, and it's not an easy journey. It's not like from here to like your house. It's a 2-day journey, and they were going by foot. To even speak to the people of Taif was a really big task for the Prophet, because the people of Taif were like against the Quraysh. They were not like friendly with the Quraysh. So like he was speaking to the enemies of the Quraysh. So people back home would be like, you spoke to our enemies. So it wasn't an easy task for him. So he goes to Taif and he says, oh, please accept my invitation to Islam. They had to ridicule him. They like throw stones at him. They cursed him, and they like gathered all their children and they said, throw stones at this man. And in the year of sorrow, God then sent Prophet Muhammad to Al-Isra al-Miraj. So that's when he was taken up to the heavens, because that was the one of the uplifting things like in his year of sorrow.
We think that we live in a difficult time right now, like post 9/11 and like in the era of Donald Trump, right? But like he was the only one. Everyone was against him, and like the Quraysh were like they were like distantly related to him, right? Yeah. So that's like that. Yeah. So that's like having Donald Trump supporters in your family who literally want to kill you. We can't even begin to understand the sadness that we feel right now is how he felt for a majority of his like time. You know that whole thing like, oh, live life to the fullest, be happy all the time. That's so fake. Like who's gonna be happy 24/7, smiling, happy? That's not real life, right? But the thing is, in our movies, in our media, in our books, literature, everything, especially in like the Western world, we're bombarded with this idea that if you're not happy all of the time, of all times, then there's something wrong with your life. I feel like in this country, especially, like people live like moment to moment, right? Like they're kind of like, okay, we'll go to a party, and then they'll be happy at the party, and then they'll like want it more, right? They'll like always want more and more and more. Like they're never satisfied with what they have. But whereas Islam teaches us that you're not going to be happy all the time. You're going to be upset sometimes.
Yeah,
you're going to have
more
to
realistic.
Exactly. You're going to be faced with difficulties, but that's real life. And you know what? When someone is shown that, okay, I'm going to be happy sometimes, I'm going to be upset sometimes, but that's life, they're going to be more like their state of mind is going to be healthier than someone who's like, I want to be doing whatever I want all the time. That's not possible, right? That's not real life. So I was just thinking that when I was like also doing this, and I was like, that's so crazy, because no wonder people like, you know, have so many drug problems and like, you know, have so many like anxiety issues, because like society tells them that if you're not happy, there's something wrong. Whereas Islam tells you if you're not happy, that's okay, but this is the time to turn back to Allah.